Good evening and welcome. I'm Chris Parnell.
Reporting from Moscow.
Tbilisi.
Times Square.
May your dreams be your only boundaries in life.
Hello and welcome to GHS-TV's award-winning talk show, Crosstalk. I'm your host, Renee Ma'am. Each week in this time slot, we take a look at different issues, personalities, and events that affect you and our community. In Memphis, the theater scene is always buzzing with new shows, but you may not know about the educational side of each theater and their community involvement. Later on in the show, we will talk with representatives from the Poplar Pike Playhouse and the Orpheum. But for right now, we are joined by Dr. Michael Miles from Germantown Community Theater. Thank you so much for coming on our show today.
Thank you so much.
Well, your motto is entertain, educate, engage, and enrich. We all know that you entertain our community, but how exactly do you educate, engage, and enrich them?
Well, there's many ways. For one, we have an education department and we have an outreach department. And everything we do really is aimed at engaging the members of our community. You know, when we initially looked at our title and we're Germantown Community Theater, well then the community needs to be infused in everything that we do. That's in our homeschool classes, our Saturday workshops, our school programming, to our actual productions.
And do you actually go to schools? Like, what schools around Germantown do you go to specifically?
You know, it's very interesting because we have spent this fall term really focused on revamping our education. We just hired a new education coordinator this year. Her name is Miss Cheryl McClurg. She's been very involved with us in the past and has taken on this new role. And she is working one-on-one directly with the Germantown Municipal School District and neighboring schools to align our education programming to the curriculum that's being taught. So in the spring, we have a whole new revamped education program. It's actually called Grits and Lit, and we're looking forward to that. It's all based on Southern writers and Southern playwrights. It's going to be a really great education environment.
That's amazing. Well, in your educational department, you have some theater classes, in particular the Fun in Theater Fit class. Can you talk about that?
I sure can. The Fun in Theater is really the umbrella title for all of our education programming. We have, like I said, homeschool classes that run during the week for students who are seeking to get some of their fine arts curriculum. They can do that through Germantown Community Theater. As a matter of fact, we are the only place in Shelby County that offers drama for drama credits for homeschool programming. So it's really exciting for us to have that opportunity. We also have Saturday workshops, and then we have something called the GCT Studios, which is a part of Fun in Theater. And that is for people who want to have acting lessons or piano lessons or voice lessons, and they don't quite know where to go. So they can come to GCT and we will actually build the class specifically for them individually or for small groups. It's a real nice way of being accommodating to the needs of our community.
Well, you're always looking for volunteers in GCT, and even if they can't act, so these lessons really preach to them, right?
That's correct. You know, as a community theater, you need volunteers. You know, our actors are not paid, they are volunteers. My assistant producer and technical director, Justin Asher, builds amazing sets, but he only does that with the volunteers that he has. So we constantly are seeking out new volunteers, people who are interested in learning more about how to do theater. And any skill set. You can come in and say, I've never built a wall before, I've never painted anything, and we will show you how to do that and get you engaged if that's something that you would like to do.
Well, this week on the GCT stage, you guys are opening something very new and exciting called the Ring of Fire, the Johnny Cash music collection, right?
That's correct, Ring of Fire, the music of Johnny Cash.
Yes.
It's a great show. It has 5 actors on stage, and they actually play all of the instruments themselves and perform. It's something called a jukebox musical, which is very fun. They do 34 of Johnny Cash's songs.
Oh, wow.
And tell the stories around those songs. So it's a really great experience. We have an excellent opening night this Friday, October 23rd. We are actually being joined by Miss Joanne Cash, who is Johnny Cash's sister.
How
She's going to be in the house, going to be with us for a meet and greet reception for our ticket holders. And we're doing an operational fundraiser out of it. So people need to get those tickets because they are selling out very quickly.
I would imagine.
For Friday, absolutely.
Yes. Well, how did you develop this idea to put on this show?
Well, we have a committee of the board called our programming committee, and it's their job to sit down and look at the entire programming for the year, all of the shows that we produce. This programming committee reads probably 15 to 35 plays and musicals in the year that then they whittle down to the 9 that we produce. And we were very interested in putting this show into a slot that historically has been our Agatha Christie mystery slot. So we wanted to leave Agatha Christie for a few years to be able to revisit some of her titles, but you just can't revisit that quickly. So we wanted to give some distance from that, and Johnny Cash, having created music here in our own backyard in Memphis at Sun Studio, just a great way of really pulling in the history of Memphis and putting it on our great intimate 110-seat stage.
I'm just so curious, how did you come in contact with Miss Joanne Cash?
Well, you know, the historic Dice Colony over in Arkansas, which is where the boyhood home of Johnny Cash is located, I knew of their existence, and so we wanted to partner with them for the show, and we have. So they're a special partner for the show, and every ticket holder who takes the program with them gets free admission to the historic Dice Colony and boyhood home of Johnny Cash over in Arkansas. And they put us in contact with Joanne, and she was wonderful. She's in Nashville. She and her husband run the Cowboy Church there, and she was thrilled and honored to be able to come and spend some time with us.
It's very exciting.
It's going to be great.
Especially for those Johnny Cash fans out there, right?
That is correct. But that is opening night only, this Friday,
wow.
October 23rd. So people need to come if they'd like to meet her then. So get your tickets, again, online or through our box office.
Well, going back to the educational side, you actually have a children's theater.
We do. The All Children's Theater is our programming title for our 2 summer programs, 2 summer shows. The first one is our straight play for children, for children by children. But what we do is we actually take challenging titles for them. This past summer in 2015, we did Inherit the Wind with an all-children cast. Coming up this year, we can't yet release that title, but it's going to be a fantastic one. It's on the table right now, and we're looking forward to putting that out public, but our kids will be involved in that. And then we always follow that up with a musical to close out the summer. And so we have some big titles there too. We just have to wait until we can absolutely release those titles.
Of course, keep it mysterious.
That's right, always, always.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
I know that the kids' involvement, you have a fairy tale trail, and that's coming up on October 30th.
That is correct. Okay. That is something we do historically as a part of our involvement with Germantown Parks and Recreation. We tell a fairy tale. It's out in the woods. It's great. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I think it's great. Thank you so much again for coming on the show.
Well, thank you.
Dr. Miles, thank you so much for being here today. At Germantown Community Theater, you can see Ring of Fire, the music of Johnny Cash, from October 23rd through November 8th. If you would like more information on shows at Germantown Community Theater, you can call 453-7447 or visit gctcomeplay.org. When we come back, Landon Mazer and Scarlett Simpson from the Poplar Pike Playhouse will join us.
Okay, Josh, do your stuff.
Okay, people, you know the drill. Canned foods only, guys.
Sometimes you gotta live what you believe, open your arms, 'cause that's where it starts. Right here with you and with me. What the world needs now is love.
Generosity, pass it on.
A little help from up above. Faith to me.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
GHS-TV has a new website. You can now view any of our shows on our new media pages. Or check out the latest Wake Up Germantown or Red Devil postgame. As always, we're streaming live 24/7. Just visit GHS-TV.org today.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Renee Ma'am. This week we are discussing local theaters and how companies help educate the public through plays. Right now we're joined by Leonid Mazer and Scarlett Simpson with the Poplar Pike Playhouse. Now, Mr. Mazer, you are now producing the show Anne Frank and Me. Can you tell us about that?
Tell you about what? I mean,
Well, what's the genre of the play?
actually, the genre of the play, it's a fantasy, and but it's based, of course, on a real event. You know, it's based on the Diary of Anne Frank. But the way how the play actually set up, it's a story about the modern girl who, by accident, you know, who doesn't believe in Holocaust and any other issues, and so she, by accident, just moved to the past, you know, and ended up in 1942 in occupied Paris. And somehow she lived a life which Anne Frank actually wrote in her diary. And by the end, she actually met Anne Frank. And so when she coming back to the present time, she realized that the Holocaust was really exist, and this is for her a big lesson, you know, to learn. And so, as the motto of the play would say, that we has to cherish, to remember the past and cherish our present.
And this is unlike any other PPP show that we've done before.
Not honestly to say, it's not unlike that any PPP show what we had before. The whole approach, you know, what we're doing on PPP stage is just not only to entertain the audience, but mostly to educate them. So the plays, what we usually putting on stage, they we just sing, and that's what we want to do. They need to have some meaning, you know. So the audience, the majority of our audience, of course, the students and the members of the community, have to take and bring with them some kind of idea. So this play, the Anne Frank and Me, of course, has a lot of issues in it, as a controversial issues, you know, talking about the anti-Semitism and racism in a way. And we've done a lot of things on the past, which is actually touch the history of the United States. We did the musicals like Rags or Ragtime and Parade. But we also talk about some racial issues, which is still unfortunately exist in the world today. And we did the To Kill Mockingbird, which is, I mean, back then it was too brave to put on stage, but we did it. And I think with this kind of approach, we also bring the classroom on stage somehow. So by entertaining, we're also educating.
So how are you educating the students that are participating in this play? They range from 9th graders to 12th graders.
Yeah, we have a different age of the students. Actually, who's sitting right with me is our Scarlett, I mean, who played the main character, and she might just tell more about that, don't you?
Yes, sir. It shows that no matter what age you are, you need to be taught that no matter what year it is, anything like the Holocaust could happen. And it's just awareness to help them realize that what they have and what could happen to them at any time.
Plus, I did make them to read Diary of Anne Frank, which
Again,
was very important. And I mean, we're not going to keep the secret. You're in the show too. You're actually playing Anne Frank.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
so I mean, you might just tell us even more. But I mean, we did read a lot of literature about the Holocaust. We did learn, I mean, a lot of religious stuff, because I mean, it will be bring on stage. So for the people with the different race and a different religious belief, you know, for them to learn the culture of the other person and understand why hatred of the people just actually came, and to understand how to deal with all of that. I think it's very educational. So, I mean, I hope all our actors, when we will come back after the play, you know, they will all understand, they will all learn a lot, you know, about the racial relationships, about the Holocaust itself, and they will not taking for granted, you know, the peace what we have right now in the States, you know, but which is not really a true situation when we're talking around the world. And this thing's dangerous what's going on around us, and we need to do everything to prevent them. And I think it's all start from you young adults, I mean, to do that.
And that's true, with this show being kind of a refresher for the adult audience, right? Because they may have forgotten that this is an everlasting theme. The Holocaust could happen again. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And you're starring as Nicole, the star of the play. So how do you get into character for being in the modern day and then switching randomly to 1942?
Well, for 1942, it's a lot of just thinking of how they would feel and watching stuff like Schindler's List and reading Anne Frank, anything like that. It kind of helps you realize what they went through and how how it would affect them. But in modern day, it's basically your average teenager, and she's happy and she's careless, and she doesn't realize what she has. And as she switches to 1942, she becomes a completely different person.
This is the big revelation to me, you know, just hear this from you. So I'm so glad that you understand that. So I just feel more relief, you know, and we will definitely have a great show.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
personally, what have you learned and taken away from this Poplar Pike experience?
That everything around us, it involves us. No matter if it doesn't involve you right now, it doesn't mean that it will involve you later. And that you shouldn't take things for granted, and you should realize what you have.
Well, one last question to you, Mr. Mazur. What influenced you to make this play this year?
As I already said, I mean, I came from the country which has been under the totalitarian regime for a long time, and still be an American citizen for many years and worked there for many years too. I just want to everybody know that the freedom, it's not giving to us. We have to fight for the freedom, and we have to save the freedom. And that's why I decide, I mean, not me, we are, as the teachers here, decide to put this play on stage. So this will bring the message across.
Well, I'm sure it'll be a lovely play. I'm so excited to see it. Thank you, Leonid Mazur and Scarlett Simpson, for being on the show today. At the Poplar Pike Playhouse, you can see Anne Frank and Me from November 5th to November 14th. If you would like more information on the shows at the Poplar Pike Playhouse, you can call 755-7775 or visit ppp.org. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we will be joined by Christina Torres from the Orpheum to talk about their exciting season.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful
GHS-TV has a new website. You can now view any of our shows on our new media pages. Or check out the latest Wake Up Germantown or Red Devil postgame. As always, we're streaming live 24/7. Just visit GHS-TV.org today.
Hi, and welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Renee Ma'am. Right now, we're with Christina Torres from the Orpheum Theater. We're talking about the fall season and other exciting things going on at the Orpheum. So one of those exciting things is the opening of the Halloran Center. Can you tell us about the opening night?
Of course. We've just recently opened our new Halloran Center for Performing Arts and Education, which finally allows the Orpheum to expand its education programs. We've been having education programs for the better side of the past 25 years, but the Orpheum, when it was first built in 1928, was never created with education in mind, because it was a different time back then. And so we've since been trying to make do with the space that we have, and now the Halloran Center is allowing us to grow both in the amount of students that we can handle in our programs, but then also in the type of programming that we can offer. The Halloran Center, for example, is going to allow us for the first time to be able to do some courses in technical theater, which we've never been able to do before. It's always been focused on acting and on making those onstage skills present. So this is going to allow us to expand in several different ways. And of course, opening was absolutely fantastic. We had a beautiful ribbon cutting, and the center is named after our retiring president, Pat Halloran, so it was a really great way to kind of maybe not culminate his career. He has a couple more months left at the helm, but it is a great testament to what he's been able to do with the Orpheum over the past 35 years.
Well, what are some other types of classes? I know that's a great addition, the tech theater class, but specifically to students who want to come to the center.
Of course. One of our very popular programs is called Broadway 101. And that allows students in grades 7 through 12 to come on the night of one of our Broadway shows, and they get to learn from a master class with one of the actors that they're going to see that night. So you have a small course fee, and you get a master class with that actor, and then you also get dinner, and then you see the show that night, so you can see the actors in action. And those courses really range on a lot of different topics. We've done everything from audition prep, where we've asked students to bring a few bars of a song, and the actors will actually sit there, talk to them about what they could improve on and where their strengths and skills lie, so that way they can do better in auditions. And recently with Cinderella, we had a dance master class. So it really ranges according to what's happening in the show, and then also what our students are interested in.
Do you think that this is bringing a new culture to Memphis, maybe, like theatrically?
Definitely. One of the things that our touring Broadway cast do is they bring their experience from all these other cities into our doors. And then not only that, but they have been where students are right now, and they can give that advice to help expand their skills and take them where they want to be.
Is there a certain age group that this is targeted for? Are you focusing more on the young people, or is this for all ages?
For Broadway 101, that's grades 7 through 12, but we do have programs for all ages. Our family and student matinee series, for example, we do shows for students as young as 3 years old, and that's a great way to introduce kids to theater. For example, our family series and our student matinee series this year kicks off with The Cat in the Hat, and so that's a great Dr. Seuss book that everybody knows and loves, but to get to see it in action is really interesting for kids who've been reading it on paper for so long.
Well, what are some of the other classes that are coming up in the next month?
Of course, Broadway 101 will be coming with Pippin, and we have some special opportunities there, so students would really want to get involved in that. We also do some teacher professional development training on how they can bring their arts into the classroom. We do that with Kennedy Center in DC, so we are a partner with them and Shelby County Schools, and then of course the Orpheum Theater. And with that, we also take teaching artists into schools. So the Kennedy Center sends us some wonderful artists, and we take them into the local elementary schools, and we get students experience that way too by coming to them as well as bringing them to us.
And this is kind of taking the Orpheum Theater to the next level. It's reaching out nationally now.
Yes, we are really trying to grow the Orpheum's reach to an international level. Of course, with the Kennedy Center, that puts us on the map in a certain way with all of our education programs. But we also want to keep it at home too. We want our students to get that value, whether it's being a part of our Star Council, which is a student volunteer group that works with our education program. Of course, the High School Musical Theater Awards, which Germantown High School is very familiar with. So that's another program where we take our students, and then of course we know the lead actor and actress go on to New York and get additional training there.
So this is a whole sect of High School Musical. Is there any college college departments in there?
That's part of what we're going to be growing towards.
Okay.
So currently, most of our programs end around a senior in high school, with the exception of some internships. A lot of students who go through our programs do come back while they're in college and do an internship to learn more about theater and, of course, the administrative side of theater. But we are hoping to expand those programs with the Halloran Center.
Well, earlier you mentioned that you opened Cinderella Broadway. I just wanted to know, you closed that show. Is it still going or is it closed now?
It closed on Sunday. Yes, we had a wonderful response. Tanner Ray Wilson from Jonesboro and an Orpheum alum was in the cast, so we were really excited to welcome him home.
And what are some other things that we should expect this season?
Well, of course, we have Pippin coming up in the middle of November, starts November 17th. That show won the Tony in 2013 for Best Musical Revival. So if people are familiar with the show Pippin, you know the story, but this has been really reimagined. So now the show takes place in a circus. It has Cirque du Soleil inspired acrobatics, and then of course it has memorable music from Stephen Schwartz, who we know from Godspell and Wicked and other great shows like that.
At the Halloran Center, do you offer dance lessons?
We do have a dance studio. We partner with other dance groups in the city. So for example, Collage Dance Collective is a really great partner of ours. And they even recently had a performance at our Halloran Center, one of our first performances that we had there. So we do partner. And then of course we use that studio when we do have Broadway masterclass teachers here teaching students dance classes. So that's a wonderful space. And then also in the Halloran Center, we have a rehearsal space that is the size of the Orpheum Theater. So that is going to allow us to take things like High School Musical Theater Award rehearsals in the Halloran Center and then move it to the Orpheum when that time comes. My hope is also that will make the Orpheum a much better contender for launching Broadway tours, because they can use that rehearsal space to practice and then launch their tour from Memphis, hopefully.
Oh, and hopefully. I'm so excited for this Halloran Center.
We are
and
too.
I know that there's tech theater, there's dance, but is there something else like living in the moment classes that, or like workshops that you offer just crash courses on?
We are planning on offering some career development classes and some financial responsibility classes for students. Also looking into the possibility of kind of a getting to know your city class that will really help students who don't really know very much about their city to learn more, especially in the downtown area where some students just don't get on a regular basis. So there's a lot in the planning stages, and we hope to be able to report a lot of great things soon.
Well, that's very interesting and exciting for Memphis.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on our show today. Well, that's the end of our show, and I'd just like to thank all of the guests for being on the show today. The theater scene in Memphis is quite promising this year. It brings a lot of enjoyment, insight, and education. Remember, Crosstalk can be seen each week, 9:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Mondays, 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. Thursdays, and 7:30 p.m. on Sundays. For more information on our programming, please check us out on the web at GHS-TV.org, where we are streaming live 24 hours a day. You can also check us out on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Renee Ma'am. From all of us here at GHS-TV, thank you so much for watching Crosstalk, and I hope to see you again.